What? Ready your Advil, because this game is going to take your mind on a trip. Recursed sets the new standard for a logic-based IQ test where you manipulate the game's mechanics to solve a puzzle. There's a plentiful amount of tools given to you in certain circumstances, but the one you'll need to familiarize yourself is with the chest. With it, you can create loops to replicate items such as stones, keys, or other chests. It can become an entanglement of loops and chests very fast. If you return back out of a chest, the room you were just in will revert to its original state, like pressing the back arrow on a web page and the forward arrow is disabled, or using an undo button without being able to redo. You can carry items in or out of chests, and if you're coming out of one, then that item will respawn in the chest you exited, which allows for duplicates to be created. Regarding boxes, it's a good tip to know that they do not block thrown objects. Chests are affected by water, so placing a chest underwater will cause its room to flood, which can allow you to retrieve something you couldn't reach before, but it can also cause a platform to float up and block a path. If you ever run into a problem in a level such as it becoming unsolvable, then a restart crow will appear, but only in the first 2 set of levels. You'll know if you can't solve it in your current state in the later levels, so there's no reason to worry about it. Recursed has a good amount of different themed areas that cater to a new game mechanic. You don't need to complete all the puzzles to progress since it's cumulative, so if you get stuck on one of the later levels, you can always go back to an earlier one, or an earlier area, to try one there and see if you can solve it. Thankfully, there's a guide on Steam just in case you get stuck, and it has hints if you don't want the full solution. There are also rings inside the puzzles that tell of hints or explains how something works.
This green stuff smells terrible. I hope it's not poisonous. It smells dry and fruity, like almonds.
Some of them give jokes too.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
In terms of graphics and sound, it's very simplistic, and you'll be listening to the same track, but it never felt like a problem. Some puzzles have cauldrons that act like a slideshow of rooms that don't revert back to their previous state like chests. Items with a green flame on them stay wherever you place them. Even if you revert a chest, they would still stay in that same spot, which allows them to be stored in, say, a chest room or somewhere where you'd need it later on. However, you have to be aware of acid because that can remove the green flame's effect. Another way in this game to keep things where they are pots. They keep a snapshot of the room like a picture, but they break whenever you enter them, so it's a one-time use. Besides creating loops, you can duplicate items by holding one while there's a replication item in the same room. A problem that some of the puzzles have is that once you know the solution, it can get kinda repetitive trying to solve it, such as using a loop to grab blocks to build a tower or trying to replicate a bunch of keys to unlock a bunch of doors. Another issue is how some of the puzzles seem way too intricate for their own good, such as interlock and escalate. Even after watching a guide on how to solve those 2 levels, it still feels confusing and I still don't understand how they even did it or even came up with that solution. So if you have a friend or some annoying person you know claims to have a high IQ, put them to test with one of those puzzles. Nonetheless, solving the levels is extremely satisfying and most fit a good balance of difficulty. The last set of puzzles does require some platforming skills, which may be irritating for some, but it's not that bad. In fact, the last set makes you think the most given how it wants you to exploit the game's mechanics to their fullest potential, even things as basic as jumping, which makes for some really creative solutions. In order to see the ending, you're going to need to know how to make paradoxes by using chests. Paradoxes are used to discover secret puzzles within certain levels, to find collectibles such as diamonds and rubies, and you may discover them by accident like how I did. It caught me by surprise, but it was a welcomed one. Those secret rooms have a mechanic that's unique to them, that's an air device that propels things upward. But other than that, they're just extra puzzles that you can find and solve, and they're not needed to see the ending. There's also a fan-made DLC called the Ice Palace that's free to download. However, you have to see the ending in order to unlock it, and for good reason too. It has the same pros and cons as the base game, but it's raised to a much higher difficulty by the developer's intentions. Don't expect to finish it either, due to how hard it can be, and there's no guide or hints to help. Which I have to criticize it for that, since making it too difficult ruins the purpose of making it in the first place, since some players won't be able to experience the later levels if they can't reach them in the first place. I know it sounds like I'm kind of advocating for hand-holding in puzzles, which I don't find fun at all, but even for experienced players, it's just too damn difficult. But if you found Recursed to be on the easier side, you'll feel right at home with the Ice Palace. There's also talk on their website about another DLC, but nothing more as of yet. If you're looking to work out those mind muscles and flex some neurons, then you can't go wrong with Recursed.